One of the things that we find in both Dark Souls, the board game, and Horizon Zero Dawn, the board game, is this idea of an epic boss monster. You play through the regular game, and then as an option, it's an expansion, and there's various expansions that fit to each game. You fight this mega boss, this jacked up super battle. And the miniatures in both powers, size, and scope are absolutely amazing. They're some of my favorite expansions for both games. But the question is, how do we handle these expansions? Do we house rule them? And likewise, if you bring these games into an environment where it's a board gaming club or there is a set time to play, you've got 3 hours to play the game, how do we handle that? Can we explore those expansions? Absolutely. So while there are house rules, I generally like to stick with rules as written. Let's play through the game as intended to get that experience. So with this, what we see is there's kind of a mini boss that you fight first, a main boss, and that's where the base game ends. And then you can bolt on and go on to another quest to fight this massive mega boss. There is the grind. There is leveling up. There is crafting. There is getting gear. You are investing time into this game. And the mini boss and the main boss fights, they are winner take all. Rules as written, if you die, if you lose that battle, that's it. The game is over. So from that perspective, reasonably so, the mini boss, the first boss, I mean, look, the dice are involved. You could get some bad draws with gear. There could be some crafting that doesn't quite work out, but generally speaking, the mini boss, they're fun, but you should be able to handle them, especially if you're working together as a team with some tactics. The main boss, there are different levels depending on the boss that you're fighting. That can be difficult. That could be challenging. And there are some players that in that moment, they're saying, look, at this point, I've played 2.5 hours into this game. Winner takes all. That's potentially a big deal, right? If we lose, the game ends. That's it. That is part of the appeal, in my opinion. Can we take the tools? Can we take the tactics? And in that moment, yes, I'd love my character optimized, but we go to battle, we go for the hunt with what we have. So in that moment, you succeed. Now the mega boss, the final boss, piles on a lot more. There's a couple of battles, there's some quests, and then there's a final showdown. At this point, you've invested maybe 2.5, 3 hours into the game. That's a lot. That is a lot. So at that point, I do play winner takes all. No second chance. No, if we get crushed, we do it over again. I mean, we're here. A perfect example, fighting the dragon in Dark Souls, no spoilers. The first time that I faced this dragon was solo. Both of these games, the AI plays solo. They work great as solo. They work great as a co-op with friends. I played through. I had some good gear. I was playing 4 characters. I make it to the dragon. It just destroyed me so hard with crazy, crazy attacks and everything. I was like, this is impossible. There's no way you can possibly beat this. It's just, there's no way to evade it. There's no way to do anything. I mean, I did a little damage, but that was it. But other times that I've now gone against the dragon, you get smarter every time. You learn more. You learn some different gear combinations because I didn't look ahead at the stats or anything. I remember the behavior cards. We develop a pattern. That aspect is an important aspect of the game. So I do believe you fight, you get killed, you have to start over. So when I bring these games to the club, I go in saying, this is how the game is intended. This is how we're going to play it to get that experience. So together as a team, let's work together because we're going to put in 3 hours of play. Winner takes all. Now, how does that work? And again, depends on how many players, depends on the tactics, depends on the gear a little bit, but these games can play about 2.5. If you're going for the main boss, the mega boss fight, maybe 3 hours. Now, that's time well spent, in my opinion, but that's a good amount of time. How do we condense that down to 2.5 hours, 2 hours, if we're playing at a club with a timer on it? Or we're playing the game And, now we're coming up at like 8:30 and the club closes at 9. What do we do? So how I adapt these games, this is a house rule, but at the same time, this is rules as written. What I do is before we start playing the game, I put out the miniatures and players are like, are we going to fight that? I mean, that thing is huge. This is true scale. It's a massive, massive mega boss. We're going to fight the mega boss. But here's how we're going to play it. We're going to go through the game, okay? We're going to play through the game. We're going to gear. We're going to grind up. We're going to level up. We're going to craft. If we make it to the boss in time, we're ready to go. Great. If we don't make it to the boss in time, then once we're down to the last 30 minutes before the club closes, we're then going to go take on the mega boss. We're going to house rule it a little bit and fight that mega boss right there and deal with it in that moment. Whether we're ready or not, we're probably not ready, but this way we get that experience. So I find these mega bosses awesome to fight against, awesome to play against, and you can fit them into a variety of encounters, but I do play them winner takes all.